Sunday, December 25th, 2005.
In an instant, their lives were changed forever.
I was looking down and all I saw was a bright flash and some dirt.
And the road to recovery is difficult.
You have to understand what happens to a person when they become disabled. Their whole image is shattered.
But some disabled veterans are rebuilding their self-esteem through sports.
It's just a little bit more oomph for him in his confidence and knowing that, this isn't such a bad thing.
And now, reporting for Outside the Lines, Jeremy Schaap.
Anyone who's played sports at any level knows how exhilarating it can be. There's the sheer thrill of competition and the self-confidence that comes from physical exertion. There's camaraderie and joy and, of course, disappointment sometimes, too. For many veterans who've been disabled, men and women who've been numbed by the horrors of combat, it can be difficult putting their lives back together. As Steve Cyphers shows us, sports, more than just about anything else, can be both a physical and a psychological salve.
It was a perfect December day for skiing in Breckenridge, Colorado. A perfect time for Jose.
It's exciting. And at the same time, it's really peaceful.
And John.
You just carve down the mountain, no problems.
And Kirk to cut loose.
When I was down, this sport helped me. It became my passion. Skiing did.
A perfect place for a moment to forget.
We were throwing everything at them, they were throwing everything at us, and, I got hit with an explosion. I'm sure it was a grenade.
Kirk Bauer doesn't remember the date in 1969. Time and days had no meaning on the battlefields in Vietnam.
The pain was incredible. I mean, it was just the most incredible pain. When it hit, you felt like your brain was being boiled.
July 28, 2004. Hospital corpsman Jose Ramos was in Iraq preparing for another mission.
A group of insurgents came out from the southwest sector and shot a rocket right at us. And I just happened to be standing or walking by where they shot and hit me.
January 3, 2005. Staff Sergeant John Jones was in a Humvee when it triggered a landmine.
I was on the radio at the time trying to get a hold of one of the security element leaders up front. And I was looking down and all I saw was a bright flash and some dirt.
Jones would eventually have both legs amputated below the knee. Ramos lost his left arm at the elbow. Bauer's left leg is gone.
You have to understand what happens to a person when they become disabled. Their whole image is shattered. It's like breaking a glass on the floor. The glass loses its shape. They don't know who they are. They don't know how people are going to react to them. They don't know where they're going, and they don't know what they can do.
There were so many different things that we faced that were so difficult for him to accept, for me to accept, plenty of things are so frustrating, and to have to overcome and be patient.
John and Amber met and fell in love shortly before he shipped out to Iraq in August 2004. Engaged to be married the following summer, plans changed after his first amputation at Bethesda Naval Hospital. Instead, they were married there in February. And the road to recovery began at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas.
I knew that if there was anybody that was going to push him, it's going to have to be me. I'm with him every single day of his life.
I can't lie about that. Yeah, I was mad. I was, a little bit depressed. But after I saw an old man at 80 years old on 2 prosthetics from the Korean War, another Marine, seeing him walk around, if he can do it at 80 years old and put on his legs and walk around, I can do the exact same thing. I think I'm all right.
Without opportunities, such optimism is wasted. Enter Disabled Sports USA and the Wounded Warrior Project, who team to provide disabled veterans with a chance to rebuild that shattered image as soon as possible.
For someone to walk into them and say, we're from the government and we're going to give you an education and train you so you can be fully employed, that sounds all fine and good, but that has absolutely no meaning at that moment of crisis. They need something now. And what sports does is provide that now. We can take them and we can teach them the skill in 24 hours.
Back and forth. He is doing great. He's the perfect type of student. You tell him one thing, he does it. He's natural.
a good time. I like it. I had no idea that guys with missing, limbs were, downhill skiing and, doing track and field and all sorts of stuff. So I didn't know anything like that until I got hurt.
Last summer, the 28-year-old Jones competed in the Endeavor Games at Oklahoma City, winning the gold medal in archery. At the time, he still had his left foot. By his count, Jones underwent 29 surgeries over almost 10 months as doctors tried to save the foot. But by September, no significant healing had occurred, and his doctors recommended amputation.
I think that was the hardest decision for me to do, was to make that one, to, cognitively, take my leg off.
He wanted to be able to bike and ski and do multiple things, that make him John, make himself feel like John again.
Once they took it, it was like, a big weight got lifted off my shoulders and I was just totally free.
This month, Jones was one of 58 recently disabled veterans learning to ski in Breckenridge.
My third day, I already hit air and was asking one of my buddies, "Did you hit air yet?" And he goes, "No, my instructor won't let me." I was like, "Well, tell him you're just going to do it anyway and do it." He goes, "I don't know about that." I call him a wuss, and then he goes up there and catches air and he loves it.
Joining the servicemen and women in Breckenridge were 50 friends and family members.
One of the things that happens with people when they become disabled is their friends and their family start to drift away from them because they don't know what to do with them. They don't have a shared activity. So let's teach them a shared activity that they can do for the rest of their lives, and skiing is one of those.
36 years ago, when Bauer was injured, skiing was the only sport offered by DSUSA. Now veterans such as Jones explore everything from rock climbing to kayaking, or in the case of Jose Ramos, sports ranging from cycling to running. More than 20 sports in all meant to expedite a wounded warrior's journey back to normal.
We know that these guys and gals can lead really full, active lives across the board. Their social lives, their professional lives, and their sports lives. And so they're fulfilling their dreams. That's the important thing, and that's the exciting thing.
The 25-year-old Ramos is one such dreamer. No longer in the military, he plans to enter college in January.
I'm going to George Mason University, and I want to get my degree in international affairs with a minor in languages, and eventually work with the State Department or an agency just to get back and help fight these guys.
Let's take a little walk, just make sure we're okay.
John Jones is back in San Antonio. With a goal to someday run again, he's learning to walk on 2 prosthetic legs. Meanwhile, he's processing out of the Marine Corps, developing his business of selling airplane parts, and telling Amber of his latest adventure.
Every trip that he goes on, he comes back home a different person. It's just a little bit more oomph for him in his confidence and knowing that, this isn't such a bad thing.
Through sports, that's what Jones has learned in almost a year's time. And it's a lesson he shared last September before his second amputation at Bethesda.
I went up there and talked to a bunch of Marines and showed them my leg, and they asked all sorts of questions. Like, well, what's it do? Does it hurt? Does it, so you got to be honest with them. Yeah, it's going to suck for about 6-7 months, and then after that, it's cake. The first year is going to be your hardest, and then after that, it's all downhill.
In February, the Wounded Warrior Disabled Sports Project is holding a ski camp in Colorado. John and Amber Jones plan to attend. For his part, Jose Ramos has already run 2 marathons and hopes to organize a team of amputees to compete in an adventure race. Coming up next, it was George Washington who said discipline.